Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to kind of run you through a presentation as if I've already gotten to know the customer. So I already built rapport. Um, and then from there, normally what I'm going to do is I'm going to probe. So naturally what I'll do, I talk to them. I already spoke with them, got to know them, their family, what they like to do, all those kinds of things. Then from there, what I talk to them about is say, hey, either me, myself, if I was the setter, or Layla, or whoever the setter was, when they came by, they told me a little bit about your energy consumption, but just to get to know it better, I just want to go over a couple things. So first off, it looks like your bill is running around $312. Uh, is that about correct? Is that a good assessment? First off, the reason that I do that, just for you guys, is so that I'm on the same page as the customer. If they think that their bill is far lower, right, then they're not going to believe I'm saving them money, right? If their solar bill is, $300, whatever it might be. So you just want to make sure you're on the same page with them about how much they're actually paying, how much they're using, just so that I can help you, kind of guide them towards the idea of them saving money, which they probably will be, right? Um, then I talk about them with their insulation. So, how's your insulation? Would you say it's pretty good? It looks like your home is pretty new or pretty old. Are you going to be doing any upgrades? No, okay, whatever it might be. Okay, great. It looks like you spike here in the summer. Is there any reason for that? Is that just because of the AC? Okay, great. Um, it looks like here your usage starts to go way down. Have you made any modifications to the home? Occasionally I will have people that put in new windows. They added, they added ceiling insulation, attic insulation, whatever it might be, and it changed their offset pretty significantly. Or they had kids move in, they had kids move out, they had this, that, or the other. So you just want to make sure that you're on the same page with the customer about their usage, um, and that what they used is going to be applicable with what they will use for the next 12 months, right? So from here on out, all I do is I talk about my situation. Okay, great. So, as I was talking to you, obviously I moved from Florida here, right? I was actually doing the same thing. So, I was selling solar in Florida, and I came here because of the incredible market and the amazing opportunity that the people of Illinois have to do solar at this time. It's a very unique market that's very beneficial for homeowners like yourself, right? So, I'm just going to run through this presentation real quick. It's pretty simple. It just kind of explains the in and outs of solar for the state in specific, and then as well just for solar in general. Before we get started, do you have any questions? Okay, great. So if they have questions, I'll either say, okay, awesome, I'll answer those during the presentation, or I'll answer them on the spot. As well, I also ask them, okay, what do you guys know about solar? Do you know anyone who has solar? Any family members? What's their experience like? Just get all the information you can out of them about what they know. As well, I just go through it and I say, okay, awesome as well. Once I get to the end of the presentation, I show you all the numbers. It's going to be really simple. All that I need is a yes or a no. If it makes sense, sure, we'll go ahead with it. If it doesn't make sense, no worries. We'll still be friends after this. I just set that expectation so that they're really focused and they know that I'm not wasting my time. Um, and that in reality, they're either going to do it or they're not going to do it. But I'm not going to be coming back and forth, I just don't have time for that, right? So then I'll just jump into it. So I'm not sure if you're too familiar with the Illinois situation, but energy is kind of a problem. There's kind of a crisis with it in the state. So specifically here in Southern Illinois, almost all of your power is exclusively coal. Okay, so what's been happening recently in the state is that a lot of the coal plants are actually getting shut down. Okay, so as the coal plants get shut down, they're still using coal. So Ameren's been around since 1904. They use coal. They still use coal. That's the majority of their power. So they're just having to travel further and further away as more and more coal plants get shut down, right? Obviously, if you have to travel further, you have to expend, you have to pay someone, pay a driver, you have to pay for gas, you have to pay for this, that, and the other. So it's a lot more expensive to be traveling to Michigan, Chicago, Indiana, these other states for your power, right? Obviously, they're not charity, they're not doing it for free, they're charging you. And so that's why you see that your power keeps going up, right? Um, Another problem there's pros and cons with the utility for sure. So one of the pros is, it's a big company. They've been working here in Illinois for a long time. One of the big cons, however, is the fact that the grid is from 1904, and I can't stress that enough. So, um, a lot of the infrastructure for Ameren has been around forever, right? And if you're familiar with anything that's super old that runs and that's mechanical, like for example, a beater car, right? If you're keeping an old car, if you're keeping an old grid, there are so many repairs that need to be done just to keep it working at a bare minimum. Right. Take this car, for example. You got to change the brakes, you got to change the tires, you got to change the lights, you got to change the bumper. Mechanical things fail every couple years, right? So essentially, the grid that you're working on is just getting band-aid after band-aid. It just keeps getting fixed, repaired. There's a lot of cost going into these really old grids that are almost 100 years old, right? So that's kind of the situation you're dealing with, and really that's just causing the price to rise every year. On top of that, right? What would you say the inflation rate is in the U.S.? Are you familiar with that? Okay, most people will say 3% or so, whatever. And I say, okay, awesome. The average inflation is, yeah, it's right around there at 3.5%. And then obviously on top of that, you get utility rate increases for fixing the grid, just the Ameren greed. They want to increase their rates, right? Make more profit, all of these kinds of things. Okay, so on average, you're looking at about a 4% increase with Ameren, and that's kind of a low estimate, right? Okay, then I move on. Okay, so obviously with a 4% increase, doesn't sound too crazy, 3.5, 4% with just inflation. That doesn't sound bad until you actually look at the numbers and you add it up, right? So your average bill is about 311, okay, and if it increases 4% a year, what you'll be looking at is in 5 years, it's actually going to be at 364. So that's up $50 in just 5 years for the same exact product. It's not more efficient. It's not better electricity. There's no difference. It's not like premium electricity, right? It's just the same thing, more expensive, right? In 10 years, you're going to be looking at $443. So it's going to be about $130 more than what you're currently paying for the same exact electricity. Obviously, in 30 years, then you're looking at almost $1,000, right? This is kind of the same principle as gasoline, right? I mean, if you look, you're going to see that the gas prices here in Illinois are about $4 a gallon. Okay, 20 years ago, you were sitting at like 90 cents a gallon. So it has 4x'd in the past couple years. It is insane. And so the same kind of things are happening with electricity. It really sucks. It's not a good situation to be in. And that's why a lot of people are moving away from Ameren towards residential solar, right? So essentially, like I was just saying, they're doing a lot more local clean energy. I don't know if you've been up towards Chicago. If you go up there, you'll see a lot of the wind turbines, right? You'll see a lot of the solar farms. You'll see the solar on the factory, not on the factories, on the commercial auto shops and things like that. People trying to save money. This is just because the state is shutting down the coal plants, like I was saying, and so they need local power, clean energy to to uh, to be provided, right? So by the year 2040, actually, the state wants to be almost all clean energy, right? And by the year 2050, they want to be at 100% clean energy. And so to be able to do such, they need to start acting now because in all reality, 20, 25 years, that's not that long to change all of the electricity from coal, nuclear, hydro to wind and solar, right? So I usually don't show this slide, but if you want to, you can. These are some of the benefits of solar, local power, supporting local jobs. A lot of the jobs that get shut down from coal, they just transition to renewable energy, right? Fixed rates, avoid increases, clean energy. Homeowners can get rid of their power bill after 25 years, whatever. Okay, so traditionally, I'm sure that you've heard about the batteries. So there used to be batteries where you had to store all of your energy in your own home. What's super cool is since the state and the utility company want you to do solar to produce local power, they gave you this new meter on the side of your house that I'm sure, ex-setter already talked about. Okay. So this new meter, the reason it's special is because not only does it look at how much power you're using so that they can charge you, is it also looks at your production, right? So say this is your house. When you guys have solar, what will happen is that any energy that you produce gets pushed out to the grid through the meter. Okay, so it gets stored in Ameren or whatever utility company's grid you're using. Okay, and every single kilowatt gets tracked through that meter so that anything that you use, right, you get credited for. All right, so because you're getting credited for that energy, whatever energy you use, then you don't get charged for that same energy, right? It's a 1-for-1 ratio. What that means is anything you produce, you get back. The reason I mention that is that there's actually a lot of states and utilities where it's not 1-to-1, where you actually have to produce, twice as much to get back just half, right? So not super fair for those other utility companies and states, but we're blessed here in Illinois to be at that 1-to-1. And in the future, I'm sure it'll change. And when it does, you're actually just grandfathered in. So if you're at a 1-to-1 ratio now, you're at a 1-to-1 ratio for, the life of the system. So let's say 30 years or so. Okay. Which is also a really good selling point on a home. If, they're looking at 2 homes with solar, are you at the 1-to-1 ratio or are you not? It's pretty cool. This is a slide I show for Ameren, but basically this just shows that 4% of Ameren comes from solar, the other 16% is open. So Ameren, a lot of the utility companies, they have a lot of open space for people to go solar, but at the same time, 16% is not that crazy, and so people need to act fast to get into those programs. Okay. Another one of the benefits and the real reason that I moved here from Florida, and the reason that I'm choosing to do solar here is because of the Illinois Shine Solar Program. So all that it is that there's about $580 million per year, okay, that are funded to go towards homeowners going solar, homeowners producing clean energy. Okay, so this was passed a few months ago, and essentially any power that is produced through clean energy, the state will actually pay you for, okay, as a rebate, meaning as cash. Okay, this isn't just a credit, this is not just a tax exemption, this is actual cold hard cash, right? On top of that, what's crazy is that the federal government is actually going to give you 26% of the total cost of the system back in taxes. Okay, usually from there, I explain to the customer the difference between a rebate and a credit is kind of like your kids where you get tax exemptions, and then a rebate is like cash back. It's cash that they deposit into your account. Okay, so super cool. Essentially what's going on here is that the government, the federal and state government, are essentially paying for 50% of your system, and that's if you choose to put it towards it. If not, you'll just be a richer man, right? Okay, the next I just kind of go through these points. So obviously there's savings with solar. I mean, all you're doing is you're putting glass on your roof. It's obviously a lot cheaper than paying for the grid, maintaining the equipment for Ameren, paying their employees, paying for transportation fees, paying for coal, paying for all these fees and random things that they slip into your bill, right? It's just cheaper. Okay. The next thing is that you're turning your bill into an asset. So typically here I ask the homeowners, why did you buy your home? Why are you not renting? Okay. They'll usually say, well, get equity. When I sell my home, I get money back. I want to own. I want to be in control, things like that. And then from there, I just tie it into solar. So obviously right now, you're renting from Ameren. So when you move out, you're not going to get any cash back. You're not going to get any benefits. They can change the rates on you. And then on top of that, they're more expensive. They're making profit, right? What's cool is that when you do solar, okay, you're at a fixed rate. It never changes, okay? You're totally in control of your power, okay, how much you're paying. And then as well, on top of that, when you move out, the average for the US is about 4.1% increased in home value. So about $15,000 increased just for owning your power, right? Just for having solar, okay? So essentially, you're paying less and you're owning your power and you're getting a return when you move out, right? You're getting a return on your investment. Okay, as well, what's cool is that you're reducing your carbon footprint. You know, that's the reason that my parents went solar. My mom's kind of a tree hugger, but I mean, it's something where you can feel good about it. It's good for the environment. There's no down payment, there's no closing costs, there's no out-of-pocket expenses, right? You're getting rid of your power bill in the future, and you're at a fixed monthly bill. So there's really not too much to go wrong here. Um, then I show them this slide, right? So I just show them kind of, just delete that, doesn't really matter. Then I show them the slide, and it helps them understand exactly how the rollover credits and all that works. So I will show them this. I just say, okay, look, this is a graph. Let's say that these bars here, those are your usage, okay, and then this green line here, that's going to be your production. Okay, so let's say that January is the first month ever that you have solar. Okay, so here you'll see that you're using more than you're producing, so you'll just pay that first month ever, pay that difference to Ameren. So let's say it's $30 to Ameren, $100 to solar, right? Whatever it might be. After that, you have this production, okay, that's higher than what you're using. Therefore, you are no longer paying Ameren at all. You're just paying your solar bill, and this difference here gets built as credits to your account, right? So then when you hit the high months like August, where normally you'd spend $300, $400, you just spend your solar bill, right? If it's $200 and $200 flat rate, you don't have to worry about these big increases that are hard to budget for. And the same goes for the rest of these months, to where throughout the year, you know, if you're at a full offset, you should never have an Ameren bill for electricity. It should just be your solar bill at a flat rate, right? Pretty cool. Okay, so these are some of the commonly asked questions that other homeowners like yourself tend to have. So the first one is just, what happens if I move, right? So like we talked about before, the value of your home is obviously going to be increased since you have that asset. And then as well, it's really simple. It just transfers. So it's called an OC. It's just a transferable ownership, right? So all that happens is they buy the home, they buy the panels. So if you're paying $200 a month, the next homeowners, they'll also just pay $200 a month. And remember, they're going to want to do that. The reason being is that 10 years down the road, you know, your $311 power bill, like we talked about, is no longer going to be 311. It's going to be, you know, 364, 443, $1,000, whatever it might be. So they're going to be thrilled to be paying $200 a month. You know, it's going to make way more sense. And then as well, once they finish paying it off, they're power bill free, right? You just help them pay off their own loan, okay? Their own solar mortgage, you could call it, okay? The next thing is warranty. So there's 3 warranties. The first warranty is a power production warranty. So we are just giving you an estimate of how much energy you're actually going to be producing, okay? And that's good for 25 years. So if we're not producing what we said we would be producing, then we have to come out, do maintenance, make sure that there's nothing wrong with the system, pay the difference, whatever it takes to keep our end of the bargain, right? The second warranty is also for 25 years, and it's just panel manufacturing. So typically we get the panels manufactured from Georgia. They send them up to us, and if there's any issues with those panels, they'll actually just get replaced within for 25 years. That warranty is good, right? So any issues with that, they'll send us new panels from Georgia. We'll come out, we'll replace them for you. Okay. The third warranty is workmanship and for your roof, right? So if there's any penetration in your roof, any leaks, anything like that, we'll come out, we'll replace it for free. You know, if it damages the ceiling, the light fixtures, anything like that, we'll just come out and we'll replace that. Okay. We don't really have problems with that here in Illinois. That's more of a Florida issue with the hurricanes, you know, rattling the panels, things like that. So you don't have to worry about it. But if it were to be an issue, you don't. It's something that's covered, right? So on paper, the panels actually last about 52 years, but typically homeowners are going to switch them out after 30 years, just because that's when the panels start to produce less energy, right? So within that time, you're obviously going to have to re-roof at some point. And so all that you have to do is you just have a roofer come out, do your roof. Usually they ask you to pay, you know, $50 or so per panel, or we have experts on roofs and solar that can come out, take off your panels, put them back on at no additional cost, but since they are experts, they do usually cost a little bit more for the roof. So you can just kind of weigh out the difference there. Okay. So lastly, right now we're kind of in no man's land right here. Not too sure if we want to do it or not, right? But once you make that decision, all that happens is we send people out, look at the roof, get the measurements, make sure everything on the satellite that we saw is correct. There's no trees that sprung up, anything like that. From there, okay, we submit our blueprints to either the village or to the county, depending on your area, right? Okay, to get that permit. So once we get the permit, it's really simple. We just call you, hey, when are you ready to install? And then we get it installed. It typically takes about eight hours or so, so 1 to 2 days to install. The biggest thing that we run into is just waiting on the permits. Okay, so the permits are usually the holdup, but even then, it's only 3 or 4 weeks for the permits. Once it's installed, the city actually comes out, they inspect the panels, make sure it was done properly, no issues with that, no leaks, no electrical problems, anything like that. And then once they get that done, Ameren, your utility provider, will just come out, connect it to the meter, and then from there, your power is running on solar. Okay. So all of those things we take care of. The only thing that we'll need from you is just information. So basically, like, hey, we're coming by to the site survey. Is that good? Or hey, we just got the permits. When would you like to install? Or hey, just sign the interconnection document from Ameren. Just whatever it is. So it's hassle free. You don't have to worry about it. And within the next 6 to 8 weeks, you'll have panels on your roof and you'll be saving money. Okay. So just a side note for customers, I usually just tell them 6 to 8 weeks, even though it's 2 to 3 to 4 maybe. I just say that to give them expectations and make it seem like it'll take longer than it actually will, just so that we kind of stand out as, better than what we say. You always want to do better than what you promise. You want to over deliver, not under deliver. Then I'll mention referrals here or at the end. It just kind of depends on the person. Okay. Then typically I just open the proposal and I run through this. Okay, Mr. Customer, so this is what it's going to look like. So most of the panels are going to be on the back, and then you'll have these panels here. Okay, you're going to be producing 73% of your power. So about 27% of it will actually be coming from Ameren, the rest will be coming from solar. Okay, this is your production, and this is your usage right here. Okay, great. Any questions? No? Okay. Then I move on to the cost. Okay. So, sounds pretty good, but what it's going to cost you is only $204 a month, right? So right now you're spending $311 a month, and instead of $311 a month, it's just going to cost you $204 a month. Okay, so you'll be saving about $100 a month, and actually, yeah, in this case, you'll be saving $70 a month, right? With the other $30 going to Ameren, and then the $204 just going to solar. Okay, so this is where we get the numbers from. So you're going to be spending the typical gross cost is about 51, right? And then you're going to get a credit from the federal government, so a tax credit for $13,000, all right? And that's going to bring your net cost down to about $37.38. Okay, and so we finance that for the length of the warranty, and it brings you to $204. Any questions with that? And then typically they don't really have questions. They'll say, "Oh, how long is it?" And I say 25 years. They don't really have an issue with it. And then whatever. And then from there I say, okay. So as well, I forgot to mention of the state rebate. So I go back. Okay, and then I have them calculate it on my phone. So I take the 17,859. Okay. I have them divide it by 1,000. Okay, I explain to them why. Multiply by 15 for 15 years, multiply by 67 for $67, times it by 0.8 for the taxes, fees, whatever you want to call it. And then I give them the number, which I think in this case is 14,300, something like that. Okay, so that'll be cash. You'll get that in about 10 months or so. All right, and so you have the choice to put it towards the loan, or you can keep it, buy a boat, do whatever you want. What do you think you'll do with it? And then I ask them that just so that they're thinking about it. If they're buying a boat, really get them, wanting that boat, thinking about it, how it's going to feel to drive it, stuff like that. Get them really hooked on solar. And if they say, hey, I want to put it towards the solar, I calculate it for them on a loan calculator to tell them, hey, it's going to bring your payment down to 128 or whatever it'll be. Okay. After that, I say, okay. So usually people ask me, what's the catch? Sounds too good to be true, things like that. There's no catch, but the only thing that I would say is that you can see here that obviously this is if you put $13,000 towards the loan, okay, that the federal government's giving you. If you don't do that and you decide to buy a car or do whatever you'd like with the money, that's totally fine, but your cost is just going to go up a little bit, okay? So instead of 204, you'll be spending 277. So you'll still be saving money, right? But it'll be a little more than I told you. Yeah, I get calls from customers sometimes. They say, hey, Enzo, like my price went up. You said it wouldn't. And I tell them, hey, like, okay, well, what'd you get the tax credit? They say, oh, I bought a motorcycle. And I say, okay, awesome. Well, I hope you enjoy your motorcycle, but I explained that to you already. And the customer usually laughs. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What an idiot. So I just show them, okay, 204 a month. Just remember to put the credit towards it and the rebate. Just kind of up to you though. If you want to pay, 120, 204, 277. Totally up to you. Okay. And then from there, I say, okay, do you have any questions? And then I kind of let the silence run. If they have questions, I answer them. And if they don't have any questions, I say, okay, great, let's get you qualified. And then I open Enium and run them through the loan doc and sign them up. So that's pretty much it. That's kind of my close process. It varies from customer to customer, but that's a pretty good outline of what